Welcome to the Click Down. I'm your host, Steve Beals, and on today's episode, I have my first returning guests from earlier this season. Welcome back to the Click Down, Wendy and Amir.
You're welcome, Steve. Great to be
Yeah, I
here.
guess you guys just couldn't stay away, huh?
Absolutely.
So,
thanks for the invite.
anytime. We had a great conversation last time, so I'm looking forward to this one as well. We're going to dive into a great discussion today on Citrix Workspace Environment Management, better known sometimes as WEM. And, to me, WEM really is one of those technologies that we deliver that is, one, both so underutilized, I think, by, a lot of our customers, really because of the power it can bring to any Citrix deployment. I know in, my discussions with, administrators, for every one or two that I speak to who use WEM, there may be two or three others that don't know what WEM is, have never heard of WEM, and maybe they've heard of it but don't really know what WEM does. So I think it's a great topic that we can dive into today to kind of bring the knowledge of what WEM is, what it can offer for our customers, and everything that it does. So I think we'll start really right from the top with the general basic of what is WEM, right, and what really are those benefits that our customers can enjoy from this product.
I think you're right, Steve. I think it's one of our best kept secrets. And hopefully after this click down, it will no longer be one of our best kept secrets. So what is WEM? When we think about WEM, so WEM is a product that is available for both our on-prem and cloud-based customers. So regardless of where your infrastructure lives, you can make use of WEM. It's an agent-based solution, so an agent gets installed on your VDA, and it helps you manage and optimize resources. It helps you reduce logon times, and it helps make your apps and your desktop sessions more highly responsive, which again is going to lead to a better user experience and improved scalability. We have, I think it's 2.1 million active connections a month for our cloud service alone. So we're getting there, but I still think there's a lot more customers who could make use of this feature from our WEM services today. And when we talk about licensing for WEM, it's an entitlement that's available to all our customers. So if you're a Citrix customer today and you want to make use of WEM, it's already included. So there's no cost to
I think that's a big point too, right,
it.
Wendy? I mean, that really right there, I think, says a lot, because I think sometimes that's some of the confusion is, do I need that, a specific license for that? Is this something that I have to pay for? And, I think a lot of times customers don't understand, no, this is an entitlement. If you're a Citrix customer, doesn't matter if you're on premises, like you said, if you're virtual apps and desktops, or if you're a DaaS customer, WEM is something that you can use today.
Absolutely. So if you have Citrix today, I would absolutely encourage anybody to look at WEM as a solution to use in their environment. So the other thing, Steve, when you talk about licensing, we actually have WEM available for Citrix platform licensing as well. So that means now WEM can be used outside of a VDA, so it can move outside of the traditional Citrix infrastructure estate and move into endpoints as well. So WEM can be utilized across the entire organization.
Another great benefit right there, right? I think that with the new platform licensing is gonna introduce WEM to a whole new set of use cases that we may not see, as a Citrix Citrix centric, team, right? So I think that's going to be a really great entitlement for those folks as well. When we talk about like what WEM is, specifically, optimizes, right? I think most people who maybe know what WEM is, or maybe have like that general understanding of WEM, they know it optimizes something. What exactly are we specifically optimizing with the WEM product?
Yeah, WEM is a very powerful tool we have handy for all the customers. And we can think about these WEM features in different categories. The first is the system optimizations, as you mentioned before, that monitors the user and application behavior in real time. And then you can use this information to have a proactive adjustments of the system resources, such as the RAM memory, the CPU, and the disk I/O usually to provide the most optimized overall experience for all users. And on top of that, to ensure that each user does not consume more resources than needed. What are the benefits of this is that it will allow you to aggregate more user sessions on Windows multi-session operating system VDAs, also improve the HDX session on the user experience for a single OS, and same thing for the multi-session OS VDAs.
Yeah,
Yep.
Sorry, no, Amir, I was going to say there, I know for me, when I worked on POCs using WEM for optimizing I/O memory and CPU, for me, one of the most obvious things that was very easy to see was the speed of responsiveness within a session and how we could really improve that end user experience.
That's one of the things that we have a lesson from the field.
Yep, exactly.
The simple thing that first, and that's what we discuss with customers, go first with the base configuration and you will see it when magic really working. And with all the data that you capture with a WEM, and especially with a WEM web console that gives you all the statistics and insights of your user consumption and the applications, you can fine tuning what you really want to apply to your WEM configuration. So that's one of the things that we can work together.
Excellent. Yeah. Go ahead, Amir.
And another topic that customers need to learn more about it, and that's why we are here to spread the word and let you know that when it's adding a lot of security features for enterprise customers, we are using app locker rules through this to simplify your user experience. We are adding these administrators to control the user experience. We are going to have these optimizations to self-elevation on the applications. We're going to be able to restrict who has access to certain applications and in a window time or during the business hours. So you can be very granular on whitelisting or blacklisting processes to give a better security environment to your end users.
I think that's a big point there. I think some people also who are familiar with WEM don't even know about those security features in there. I know I worked last year on a few things that we put on Tech Zone around those security features specifically, really because of that. And I think like because we think of WEM as like that optimization tool, those security features, the app blockers, things like that, just are not really known about. So I think that's a good point there, bringing those up.
Yeah, absolutely. And also we have a lot of new features based on customers' feedback and what's on the market, and just related to user and memory, CPU, all the resources inside. All that data that we can use digest and take decisions for capacity planning, for cost management, to have a better user experience. On the WEM console, we're going to have the insights part that is going to give us the top 20 applications that are consuming memory and CPU. We can create policies with thresholds to specify what applications we want to consume certain amount of memory, for example.
Excellent. So I want to circle back really quick because Wendy, you mentioned, when we were asking like what WEM is, you mentioned, about the agent. Can you guys kind of just, give like a high level, what exactly does a WEM architecture, look like? Like, am I an administrator new to WEM, hearing about this the first time? Is there a lot of infrastructure that I'm going to have to deploy in order to make this work?
Sure thing. I can take that one. Generally speaking, as we mentioned before, WEM is for both on-premises and cloud environments. The main orchestrator here, it's a component called the WEM Service Infrastructure Services. This is the component that will talk to the database, to the Active Directory, to the virtual agent installed on the endpoint, and it will give us all the magic of WEM. Said that if you are an on-premises shop, you as a customer will keep all the administration of this infrastructure, of all this core infrastructure. You will be able to manage your database, your infrastructure services server, and all the administration from a Windows standpoint. Now, if you are utilizing the WEM service, Citrix manage on the Citrix Cloud Control Plane the core infrastructure. You just forget about the administration of these infrastructure services orchestrator, the database replication, upgrades, and patching, and you just focus to the health of your environment with your endpoints and your agents and your policies. So it's how the architecture looks like from a 10,000 feet overview.
Okay, perfect.
And
yeah, go
I
ahead.
think it's very like a DAS infrastructure, you know.
I was
Do you
just
want
going
to
to say
manage the
that, Wendy.
control plane?
Yep. I was just going to say
Yeah.
it seems very
Exactly.
similar to that. So
Yep.
Yeah, and it's super easy to configure the service. And what I really like about WEM is how it integrates directly into machine catalogs. So if you have a WEM configuration set, and you basically can set exactly what configurations you want a group of machines to have, and you may have different requirements based on your different personas within your organization, you can actually automatically configure certain settings to certain machine catalogs, which is quite nice. You can even have so that if a machine, you know, is added to the machine catalog, that it automatically gets that configuration. So you can make sure that any machine that's kind of unbound to a configuration set gets a default setting, which I think is an added security benefit as well. So yeah, I think they've done a fabulous job from a product perspective to make it as easy as possible for us to integrate WEM. And of course, you can do it on prem, and then you've got the overhead of managing the control layer. But absolutely, it's doable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and speaking for on prem, I know last year we released a tech preview, and I think it's still in tech preview for the web console for the on premises product. What's really what is the web console? Are there any differences between that and the, I'll call it the legacy console? Do we have an idea when that's going to be GA?
Yeah, basically that's the way things are structured in the console. For good, it's easily to have a quick configuration of your actions, that it's just how to create group policies. You can import and export a group policy or entire a registry and we have a recent use case with a customer we're working with to pre-configure an application once the user session starts. So we do that by exporting all the registry key. Also, you're going to have the insights part where you're going to have information about top applications that are consuming resources. Also, you can get all the reports of the policies and optimization policies that are being applied. And the part of the automation via WEM.
I think you bring up a really good point there, Amir. I think from a group policy perspective, we see an awful lot in requirements from our customers to move from group policy objects to WEM. So they move all of their GPO settings out of group policy into WEM. And what that will allow them to do is asynchronously, I can never say that, Steve, asynchronously have those settings be applied. So they should be applied faster, and then we can manage those directly from WEM. And that's particularly important when we have maybe division of teams within an organization. Do you own group policy? As the Citrix admin, you may need to do change control to get that done, whereas you have full control over the WEM environment, and it means you can make changes faster, and you can have more control over what gets delivered and when. So I think that's a really good point. The other really good point that Amir's just brought up is the insights. The insights and the monitoring that we can see inside of that WEM Studio console are fantastic. I think that's another really good benefit of the new web console.
So with that with that web console, is there a specific version me as a customer needs to be on in order to utilize that, so I can get those insights?
There's at least with the latest LTSR version, you are all set.
And of course, with cloud, you're always going to be on the latest, which is one of the benefits.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So one of the other things that I've seen in the last 6 months or so, and I know our team's done some videos on it, but I'm not too familiar with exactly what it does. Is something called the WEM Tool Hub. What's the WEM Tool Hub,
yes.
and what are the benefits with that?
I think if WEM is the best kept secret, WEM Tool Hub is even more of a secret, and it's really beneficial.
Yeah.
I don't know, Amir, I'll let you start, and then I'll follow up with you.
Yeah, it's a tool that allows you as a Citrix administrator just to simplify the web configuration. You're going to be able to configure applications instead of going to your Studio Console and get all the properties of your applications to apply security policies. You just discover your site, either if it's on-prem or cloud, and get all the list of applications. You just, with a single click, select what application you want to apply the security policy, and it's everything that you have to do. Pretty simple. It's a straightforward configuration wizard. The other thing that we're going to have is if you run the tool locally on the endpoint device, it will give you a logon analysis with a information about how the station is behaving as a supplement to what you can see on Director. And the other benefits that you have through this WEM Hub tool is the capability to manage or configure printers and the type of file association that you want to do on your applications.
Good printers, every Citrix administrator's, death blow, right?
It used to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it used to be a nightmare.
Just it's been a long time.
You don't have to go to all your printer servers and see what printer you're going to assign to a user. Here, you just list your printers and apply that printer to a configuration set. So you don't have to have a lot of GPOs. That's where all the magic of GPO consolidation and session configuration comes with WEM.
Yeah, I agree. And I do think the app access control rule generator is also really useful here. I've created and delivered sessions on this in the past, and it allows you to manage and control what registry key folders that end users can see. And again, the reason for this particular tool is to ensure that we have, I suppose, less silos within our environment. We all wanted to get to the minimum amount of images that we have to manage. And this rule generator for app access control allows you to create a code that you can then move either into Citrix Studio in a policy, or you can push it to a group policy in AD, where you can actually push down whether you're going to hide or whether you're going to allow access to a particular registry key file or folder, and allow certain end users to have a view of that or not. So the app access control allows you to mask some applications from certain users while allowing access to other users. So very useful tool as well. That's part of the WEM
Yeah,
tool
absolutely. And here, as you guys are talking about this, the tool hub is what I'm hearing, right? Is very powerful tool. Not really known much about it out in the Citrix world, and the Citrix tech marketing team needs to start putting some more content out about
it. So we'll all be busy.
Yeah, exactly.
We started doing that. Yeah, absolutely.
So I know earlier this year we just introduced automation using Terraform for DAS and virtual apps and desktops. NetScaler has been doing automation for a lot of time now. Is there anything from a WEM standpoint regarding automating daily tasks as well? Outside Terraform, but just within WEM itself, is there things that can help with automation?
Yeah, that's a great point. A customer just started hearing about automation here and there in Citrix with Terraform and all the different flavors we have. And WEM is not exception. We have something called a scripted task that you can simplify your daily operations, scheduling this task based on your own scripts or the out-of-the-box ones that we have as part of the tool. And these actions are based on triggers. these triggers, we have included triggers on the WEM console. As to give you an example, if a process is started, if the user logs in, logs off, or there's a connection or disconnection, you trigger an action. Also, you can create your own triggers, and that's a very powerful automation feature that will give you the option to run daily health checks to your VDAs. For example, you can have a logon analysis as well. We have a partnership with Control Up. There is a public PowerShell script that we can integrate to WEM, and any other PowerShell script that you have currently running on your environment. The goal here is to centralize everything and have a single pane of glass for your session administration.
Excellent.
I think those triggers are super important from a WEM perspective, and it gives us that ability to have like actions off the back of events within those VDAs, and I think that's very useful.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, you guys obviously are more out front working with our customers, daily basis, working with our teams that, sell into our customers. So, you're seeing deployments sometimes firsthand. What are some of the deployment recommendations that you guys have taken back, and what are some of the best practices, for WEM that, you guys can provide to customers?
That's a great question. First, start with the basics. The base configuration is the first thing that you have to do. As I said before, feel the differentiation of using WEM on your environment. You'll see a lot of optimization on your CPU and memory. You will start saving cost, accepting more user sessions on your servers. Once on that, always utilize offline on your WEM agent. It will improve the login experience. This will give you a cache feature on the agent side that will expedite all the login process.
That's great advice, Amir. Actually, I think starting with, there is out of the box default configurations that have been created by our product team, which automatically gives you a great baseline configuration.
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing that always caught me out when I was testing this as an admin is make sure that we're not processing for admins. So,
Right.
or that we are processing for admins.
That's right.
Depending on whether you want to test it for yourself as an admin or not. I always get caught with that. So that's like when you're doing your POC and you're doing some testing, make sure you either enable or disable that one particular option. And I think the other thing then is obviously UAT and user acceptance testing is really, really important to understand what your success criteria are of any. So yeah, I think benchmarking, no matter what your project is going to be really important. But I think out of the box, you're going to see plenty of improvements in user experience and scalability.
Happy users, right? Happy users.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we want.
That's all we want, right? Mm-hmm. And recently I had this discussion with one of my customers, and thinking about how to enroll the agents itself. You as a Citrix admin, you have two flavors, and the recommendation, if you have power users or bring your own device or physical devices, use the invite mode to enroll your virtual agents. You as a Citrix admin, you create an invite to enroll the virtual agent, and the user manually can enroll the virtual agent. In the other hand, if you are utilizing a master image and deploying virtual desktops to your end users, you can centralize this enrollment through the API or creating a client ID and secret, and this automatically will enroll the virtual agent on WEM.
And Amir, if we have customers who are using Citrix platform licensing and they want to use it on endpoints outside of the VDA, would that be the recommended method?
Yes. Yes, you can use the first one that I mentioned for physical devices with the invite mode.
That's great. That's great to know too, Amir. I think because especially around that being such a new almost announcement, right? Like being able to do that and not a lot of information out there yet. So that's good to know. Kind of to wrap up, like my questions. I guess for customers who are listening today, what's next for them? Like how can I start using WEM? How what would you recommend I do to start using WEM to really get this into my environment and make my end users happy?
I think if you're entitled to it, you should absolutely start to look at using it. I think, to me, it's one of those no-brainers that if you're going to be able to have that entitlement, then you should look at using it. I think that's the first thing I would say. I would check out our Citrix docs because we have a lot of great documentation that talk through how to configure it. It's really not too difficult at all. And I would just start to use it and provide feedback to us as an organization.
Excellent. Well, yeah, go ahead, Amir. Before I wrap up, you have anything else?
Nothing in particular, just WEM is a very powerful tool. Just keep in mind, we didn't talk about the profile administration. We could stay
I
here
was
for
just
2
thinking
hours.
that we didn't talk about UPM.
But it just,
You should.
It could be the reason for a second.
Yeah, we can definitely listen. I
session.
think profile management and UPM. I think that's a whole separate podcast episode that we can jump into because there's just so much there, right?
Exactly. Just keep in mind for our listeners, new capabilities from the WEM console for profile administration. Now we have templates to configure your profile solution. We support the traditional file-based profile. We have containers profiles. That's a huge thing, and something that it's Citrix only. That's one of the differentiators we have with whatever is in the market. Is we have hybrid profiles that you can specify or set a part of your profile as a traditional file-based profile, and the Microsoft side of the house in a container-based.
Yep.
I think that's really, really a really great way to wrap it up, and also to try and get ourselves invited on a next click
exactly.
Steve,
making a note.
yeah. There's some fabulous new features. The WEM Studio console. You can set up profile management in like 5 clicks. It's so simple. It's so easy. You can absolutely set up both file and container-based profiles super easily via WEM, which is great. But WEM on its own then has some great new features, which include file deduplication, some great optimizations around containerization. So I would urge anyone who hasn't looked at WEM or UPM to look at it again, because there's been some great work done in that space. We've got
Absolutely.
Lots of features that we could talk about.
Absolutely. And I will work on scheduling the next episode with you guys. All right. So Amir, Wendy, thanks so much for joining me again today. Every time you guys are on, it's such a great conversation. You guys have such great information. You bring a lot from the field and the technical knowledge. So I really appreciate you guys jumping on. If anyone else, Wendy mentioned some of our documentation, even on Tech Zone, we have specific, WEM deployment guides, walks you through step by step on how to get going with WEM, how to set things up. There's a lot of other great content there. So, head over to the new community site, check out Tech Zone there. And for everyone else, I'd like to thank you for listening today. And this has been the Clickdown.